The best touring bike I've ridden has 24 horsepower. You don't need 100 horsepower and the latest tech. Ride whatever you want, because it's not the bike that's important to touring, it's the touring that's important to the bike. G'day, I'm David from Two Wheels In, and this is Billie, my Himalayan 411. When Royal Enfield bought this bike out in 2016, the world scoffed. An adventure bike? From India? What the absolute f***? Even Ryan F9 called it the worst adventure bike ever. Everyone remembers stories of early models broken in two, or stories of breakdowns or flat tyres. It's like people wanted to hate it. A slow, untechnical bike. No TFT, no data readout for the temperature of your latte this morning. Instead, an analogue cluster straight out of 1967. Speedo, tach, odometer, and a compass laughable in its wrongness. Little in the way of technical finesse, tube tyres instead of tubeless, no built-in security. Little point, because if you locked the Himalayan up in the garage, so the joke went, you'd come back in the morning to find 3 more. Eventually EFI replaced the carburetor. ABS arrived courtesy of European requirements, but the actual bike didn't change much. For 5 years, RE turned out this unpretentious little two-wheeler. But people started riding it. Norrie Schomaker from Itchy Boots took hers from India to the Netherlands, which was actually the best marketing RE could have hoped for. What people found when they got on it was remarkable, and yet also completely unremarkable. I mean, yes, cheap and analogue, but reliable. Starting first go. You could work on it yourself, which you can't always do with the bigger, more techie tech adventure bikes. If you drop it in Kazakhstan, a local bike shop would have it going without the need to wait for a European company to ship the parts in. And so it gathered a reputation as an adventure bike. I mean, people call it the tractor, because its torque is low and it'll go basically anywhere. But there's more to it than that. At this stage, I've put more than 70,000 kilometres on Billie. Oh, ignore the number. The instrument cluster got changed when a light failed. And that's the worst thing that's happened to her. I mean, it's not a 1000cc modified Indian Scout, but that's okay, I'm not Burt Munro either. And she gets me there. She gets me there elegantly, reliably, and quickly enough. Let me tell you why I like riding Billie a long way, and why the limitations of the bike don't really matter. This might seem counterintuitive, but lower power in an adventure bike can be an advantage. Sure, it might be kind of like a dachshund trying to get with an elephant, but it'll get there in the end. Unlike the dachshund. The pace is part of that. If you lose your license riding this bike, hats off to you, you were really trying. You can't accidentally do 160 here. So you stop fighting the urge to go faster and you just go, you know? And then there's a tension. On a powerful bike, you're managing surplus, constantly not using what's available. But this isn't a rocket ship. On the Himalayan, you're using the bike, not restraining it. And that's a different relationship. It keeps you present, not because it demands heroic concentration, but because you're actually engaged with what the engine is doing. And you arrive feeling less fatigued. Big bikes, even big adventure bikes, are tiring in ways riders don't always admit. 640 kilometres on a bike that could kill you if you lose focus for a second is a different day to 640 kilometres on one that probably won't. Ergonomics is super important in touring. That's how you do the long days. But here's the thing, ergonomics aren't the sole preserve of $40,000 bikes. Royal Enfield and Harris Performance designed the frame of the Himalayan especially for long journeys. Upright seating, wide handlebars, big wheels, comfortable for days in the saddle. That's not incidental, that's a deliberate design choice. Harris Engineering's interesting. It's a motor engineering company with a serious pedigree. They're known for building everything from GP frames for racing to, well, the Himalayan. It's part of why the ergonomics punched above its weight for a budget Indian adventure bike. The rider triangle, wide bars, neutral wrist position, feet roughly under the hips. You're not crouched, not stretched, not perched. You're just sitting for hours. That's the touring position. Long travel suspension absorbs bumps and uneven surfaces. 200mm front, 180mm rear. Compare that to an R1300 GS, 190 front, 200mm rear. More or less the same at a fraction of the price. Designed for rough terrain, works brilliantly for long days on imperfect Australian roads, or those sneaky multiple unmarked speed humps in India. This is also a really modifiable bike. Don't like the seat? You can have a touring one shipped from India for $100. Need a rack for your navigator? Get one shipped in. Admittedly, Indian near enough engineering can be hit or miss. Plus, it's modular, and I really like that. Without a built-in nav, I can choose the one I like and mount it. Same with panniers or the top rack. Finally, it's simple and economical. I was out with my friend. Let's call him George. Now, Mike was riding a Guzzi V85. Gorgeous bike. We were in the outback and we came to a petrol station with no 95 petrol. You know, like his bike absolutely needed. I filled up with 91 and dust, and then nursed poor Mike 100 kilometres to the nearest petrol station at 50 kilometres an hour. He made it. Just. All of that list, reliability, comfort, immersion, flexibility, is just another way of asking that same question. What's over there? And how can I get there? Now, as good as she is, she's not perfect. I doubt any bike is truly perfect. But let's have a look and see where she fails as a tourer. Now, I know some parts of the world, the German autobahns and the Texas freeways, for example, are different. I get it. Australia has some pretty harsh policing and low speed limits. Different countries, different calculus. It's a great bike for doing 110, maybe 120. It'll do 130, but you've got to really wring its neck. Secondly, acceleration's more of a suggestion than a command. The 24 horsepower engine combined with two large panniers means she overtakes like a tortoise. You have to sort of plan your overtaking. But after all, the tortoise still won against the hare. Billie does have a tendency to atomize oil on the freeway, so you got to keep an eye on that. It's not a lot, but it's there. The low OEM windshield does cause buffeting, particularly if you're taller. I'm 183 centimeters and I changed it to a high screen version. My friend Roger at 185 feels it more when he gives it a go. But he rides a GS, so he's used to, well, not better things, but different things. Lastly, she's a thumper, so she vibrates. One reviewer who regularly does 400 kilometre days says it struggles on long, flat, windy roads. Australia, China, Argentina, where you'd want another cylinder and less vibration. But then I've ridden outback Australia and I didn't particularly notice it. Maybe I'm just used to it. So what does the market say you need? Ask any publication, they'll tell you. Power, wind protection, cruise control, infotainment, heated seats, semi-active suspension, and a TFT the size of an iPad, a Goldwing, a GS, something that costs more than a small car and weighs about the same. And look, they're not wrong that those bikes are really comfortable. But somewhere in that list, motorcycle travel got redefined as luxury, as insulation, as the systematic removal of everything that makes riding feel like riding. And if you insulate yourself from every boredom, from every discomfort, you may as well take the car. So here's my list. Up to 70,000 kilometres on Billie. She's reliable. The kind of reliable where I know she'll start and keep going. Sounds like a low bar. On a long trip, it's everything. She's comfortable. Not armchair comfort, sustainable comfort. The difference between your bum hurting after 2 hours and being able to ride 10. The ride is immersive. The market doesn't sell this one much. Billie keeps me present in the landscape, in the ride, in the day. Not managing tech, just riding. That's not a defect, it's the whole point. She's fixable. If I'm in Broken Hill or the snow is at dusk, if something goes wrong, my question isn't how good the bike is, it's whether anyone within 200 k's can fix it. Any mechanic anywhere can look at a Himalayan and know what they're dealing with. The market sells you a bike for the rider you want to be. The Himalayan's the bike for the rider you actually are. Someone who wants to go a long way, comfortably and without drama. Those aren't the same thing.